Hey folks, this is Vint with Dad's Gaming Addiction, and today we're going to quickly check out Lethal Company. This is a game that you can find on Steam's Early Access program for about $10, and I stress Early Access. That means everything that you're seeing here is subject to change. So this game can be played solo, but I don't recommend it. It's more meant for multiplayer, up to 4 players. It's just better. Solo play, you also have a disadvantage. The game is 10 times harder. You only have a single life if you're playing by yourself, whereas if you're playing with multiplayer, if someone dies, you're still on the level. You might get penalized for those deaths, but the other players can still get crap and bring it back to the ship. Speaking of which, that's what you're doing. You're landing on various planets in this game, going inside the abandoned building, quote-unquote abandoned building, and trying to get scrap out. You can buy items along the way, like there's flashlights, there's stun guns, or whatever they're called. You can even get like teleporters and other things. But I have to stress that everything is a rogue-like, in the sense that if you fail your run, everything resets back to the way it was. It's not a permanent progression kind of thing. You have 3 days to meet your quota. And if you don't meet your quota, then the run fails and you start over from scratch again. As you continuously make your 3-day quota, the quota goes up and up and up, so it gets harder and harder and harder to reach that. There is a computer inside the ship where you can buy these items. You can also fly to different locations. Some locations have different weather effects, and these weather effects will change. So if this place is stormy one day, you go back to it later, it might be clear again or whatever. And I have to stress, there are enemies outside the ship that can kill you, and your ship is not a safe haven whatsoever. You can close the doors, but only for a brief amount of time. So it is possible to, be in the ship and still die. It's not like a safe zone at all. Typically, the way this game plays, one player stays inside the ship. There's a monitor, and you can actually, that monitor allows that player to follow somebody on the monitor, and you can see where they're going on the map. It's like a little mini map, and it's a little hard to see sometimes, and it's hard to make out where you are, especially when you're dealing with multi-leveled buildings. But you'll be able to see, oh, there's an item over there, go get it. Or there's a red dot coming at you, there's an enemy, just watch yourself, that kind of thing. So yeah, you're going into these buildings with your friends, unless you stay behind in the ship, which, again, you're not completely safe. And you're trying to bring scrap back to the ship. Some scrap is small. You've got 4 inventory slots, and that includes like any flashlights or shovels that you bring with you for defense. But the large items completely take up your hand slots, and you just have to carry those back, unfortunately. And you're doing the best you can not to die. If you do die, like I said, in multiplayer, it's not that big of a deal. Other players can still finish the level and do their thing before the clock runs out. Speaking of which, there's a timer, so if you don't get back to the ship by midnight, the ship automatically leaves, and anyone still outside the ship just automatically dies. Your whole goal is, again, to survive for 3 days. Well, not survive. If you die, you just respawn the next day. But you're going to, get as many items as you can, and on the 3rd day, go to the headquarters building, and then annoy the guy by ringing the bell until he shows up and buys all of your stuff. If you head to the headquarters building early, the items are not worth as much. And yes, the headquarters building, it's supposed to be safe, but sometimes the guy gets pissed off if you ring the bell too much. But anyway. So yeah, it's a lot of fun, this game. My brother, myself, and Ida Lee played it today, and my son and I and Ida Lee played it yesterday. And having... I first played the game solo, and I was kind of having fun with it, but it's much better with actual people. It really is. It's better, get 3 or 4 people playing. It's so much better than playing solo. In fact, I really hope that the developer does something to make up for the fact that solo play is just not recommended. I sincerely hope that he adds things to this game to make solo a bit more accessible and a bit more forgiving. When you die in solo, you lose everything. So, on the ship and everything you've gotten up to that point. Whereas in multiplayer, you typically have more lives. This game has a lot of in-your-face stuff. These enemies will come out of nowhere. Each enemy has some kind of, behavior, and that's the part of fun of learning this game. It's like in Phasmophobia or other ghost games, oh, what does the Oni do? What does the Poltergeist do? What is this do? As you're discovering the game, it's a lot of fun. I'm going to assume that over time, as you start learning these things, you start learning how to just get around them or juke them, but we're not at that point yet. I had a blast, and I think everyone else playing with me respectively had a blast. It's unfair. I just have to stress that it's unfair sometimes. You just have to get over it. This game is not meant to like, oh, I gotta perfect 100% everything. This is let's go in there and hope not to die. But if I do, let's just laugh and move on. Yeah, it's one of those kinds of games. I highly recommend checking it out. It's not perfect. It is still early access, but it is a lot of fun. So if you've got some friends and you like the horror genre, you don't mind some jump scares, definitely check this out. This is Vince. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you all next time. Take care.